try not to be too long-winded. One of the things I love about this teaching is that we honor every path to God, and there's no wrong way. And so my question starts here with, where do you go when you go within? And when I thought about that, the first thing that came to mind is where my beloved teacher and mentor, Reverend Dr. Kathy Hearn, starts when she starts a prayer. She says, I invite you to go to the altar of your heart. And that works a lot of times for me, because I have to do something with that busy mind. And so it works to bring myself to an altar. And sometimes there are sacred things on that altar. And sometimes there's something that I have to bring and put on the altar, something that I might need to give up or give to God. And that works for me. Sometimes I might take myself to a beautiful place, the ocean, perhaps, or a grove of trees with a beautiful stream. But more often than not, I find myself at a garden. And when I go within, that's usually where I am. And that garden is filled with beautiful flowers. And I love flowers because they are so different and so unique. And I'm lucky enough to live by the flower fields, and it's one of my favorite places to go. This year I heard there were over 750,000 flowers there. And every one of them is different. And just like those flowers, there's no two blades of grass are the same, and there's no two people that are the same, and there's no two calls that are the same. And thank you so much, Peggy, for that beautiful song. Because I know that when I go to that garden, I'm in that beautiful place, and I'm feeling love, and I'm feeling joy, and I'm feeling peace, and I hear that song of my soul. And that song is the call. And we all hear it, and we all respond to it in different ways. For some of us, it might be to actually be a gardener, to tend to the plants and flowers of the world. To some people, it might be to nurture and raise our children. To some people, it might be to choose a career in the healing arts. And to the four of us, Les and Tracy and Sam and I, and many of the other ministers and the practitioners here, it's ministry. Because this is what makes our hearts sing. And this is the call that we have said yes to. Ernest Holmes said that the plant was in the seed before the seed was even planted. And I love that idea because there were times during the past 5 years where I pretended that my path might go a different way. And even before those 5 years, I pretended that I didn't hear the call, and there were hills and valleys, and the roads twisted and turned, and there were hurricanes and tornadoes along the way. But still, that call was there. And when I finally said, yes, I'm listening, the road took me to the Holmes Institute, just as I know it took my colleagues. And I wouldn't give up that journey for anything. Yes, there are other paths, but this is the one that we chose. And whether it was 3 or 4 or 5 years, it doesn't matter because it was perfect for each one of us. And as I thought about that this morning, I was reminded of a story of the Moso bamboo, which is a strain of bamboo that grows in China and in Eastern Asia. And the Moso is planted, and then for 3 or 4 or 5 years, nothing happens. Literally, nothing happens. There's no sign of life at all. And then at some point, all of a sudden, like magic, something shoots up from the ground 3 or 4 or 5 years later. And when that happens, that Moso grows 2.5 feet a day. Yes, you heard me right, 2.5 feet a day. There's a picture of a grove of Moso bamboo, and there's a couple more pictures you'll see up there. In the span of 6 weeks, the Moso bamboo comes to full maturity of 90 feet tall. Now, how can it do that? It does that because in those 3 or 4 or 5 years, it's getting ready. What we don't see is the root system is growing deep and wide. For miles and miles, it's growing. It's creating a really strong, firm foundation. And it's able to draw nutrients up from the ground, from the earth, so that it can grow 2.5 feet a day. Well, in front of you today are 4 amazing new ministers, reaching for the light like those Moso bamboo. Because each one of us has said yes. For me, I feel as though I'm standing at that garden gate, getting ready to cross into that threshold, into a magnificent world that is more incredible than I know I can even imagine. Ready to reach for the light. And so it's from that place, with a heart full of gratitude and love, that I, and I know my colleagues, want to thank all of our teachers and our mentors and our ministers, our friends, and our family. Everyone who has supported us on this journey. We love you. Namaste.
And to give a blessing for our new ministers, I'll invite forward Dr. Mark Vieira, the director of the Holmes Institute Los Angeles and the senior minister of the North Hollywood Church of Religious Science. I said that. There you go.
I take my hat off to you because someone said we should be open at the top. So I invite you all to join me in consciousness as we turn our attention inward, focusing on that presence, that life, that love that I know is God. It's spirit, it's the truth. In fact, it is the most true, real thing about each and every one of us here. And so in this consciousness, in this awareness of our oneness with God, and also knowing that we are all connected, one with the other on the unseen side of life, it's in this awareness that I speak this word for these graduates, knowing that their ministry already exists in the mind of God, that it is fully formed, and they are now stepping into it, that they are truly, truly prepared on earth as well as in consciousness, that everything they need, I am absolutely certain, exists within them, and they are ready to call it forth into perfect expression. So I know that their sheep hear their voice, that those who would be served by them and what they have to share and teach and their prayer, all of those are drawn to them in perfect ways. Nothing is missing. I know that that consciousness of the infinite mind is expressing now and always, uniquely and perfectly, through and as each and every one of these 4. And so I would just ask all of us, with hearts and minds open, to see and feel the truth of their unfolding ministries. And to know that it is good because it is God, the good to which there is no opposite. And so with a heart that's full, overflowing, knowing that this is the truth, grateful to know that the law of mind always responds as we believe, and we do believe, I simply release this word into that law, feeling, sensing, and knowing that it is done. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Mark. And so now, I'd like to introduce to you Reverend Dr. Kathy Hearn, the Community Spiritual Leader of United Centers for Spiritual Living, and invite her forward to confer our degrees. But before I do that, I'd like to say a word about Dr. Kathy. I realized when I was speaking with her this week, we always have a very fun time deciding who's going to sit up on stage with me. I told her, I asked her to join me once again this year because this is her last official year as the community spiritual leader. And so this is the last year that she'll be sitting with me up on stage, and I don't know who that will be next year. But she has been here in support of this program from the beginning. She is one of the most reachable leaders and greatest supports for our students. And I am eternally grateful for the inspiration and the love that she has given to this program, to this organization, and to our graduates. And so I'd like to invite her forward to confer the degrees. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that acknowledgement. Congratulations, graduates, and hello, everybody. And I bring everyone greetings from all of us at United Centers for Spiritual Living. And to the graduates, we're just so pleased and happy and in high celebration with you. Thank you for this path that you have chosen. You are expanding our organization and our spiritual movement in the world. You've made it through all the turnaround points. You're here, you're beautiful, and just thank you for your commitment to this path that you have chosen. And to our ministerial graduates, your fellow graduates at Denver, say howdy. Well, actually, they said hi, and congratulations. They wanted me to pass that on to you. So now is the time that we have all been waiting for, and so I'd like to ask our practitioner graduates to stand and our ministerial graduates to stand. Take a nice deep breath. Feel the sacredness of this moment. By the power of God, by the power of your commitment to your spiritual path, and by the authority of United Centers for Spiritual Living vested in me, I do hereby declare the official completion and achievement of these new spiritual titles of ministers and practitioners of truth. And you may move your tassels. You have done it. Congratulations.